For more videos like this for Compark 211, you can check out Sarai Studies. Link is in the description box below. We're given a truth table and we're told to write the formula for F as a sum of products. So F represents all of the outputs. And then in number 2, we're going to have to write it as a product of sums. So the way that I remember it is SP, true, false. So my name is Sarai, so I think Sarai, and then my last name has a T in it, so that's how I remember this. But maybe the way you can remember it is if you invest or you're a finance major, you can think of the S&P 500. Again, the 500 is irrelevant, but at least you'll remember S comes first and then P. And if you've taken discrete, you know that true always comes first in that class, so you do true, false. So essentially, we're looking for all of the cases for when F is true. Remember, true means 1, so we're looking for when F is 1. That's here, here, and here. So our formula can be equal to the first case for when F is true, and that is when A is false and B is true. So the first case is A is false, so A prime, and B is true, so we just write B as is. And remember, in formulas, we don't like words, so we have to recall that we represent and with multiplication. So we could switch that for multiplication, which we don't really need because we can just write this as A prime times B. So that's the first case for when F is true, or is represented with addition. The second case is when A is true and B is false. So we write A and B is false. Again, and multiplication, so we could just switch that to be A times B prime. And then the third case is when A is true and B is true. So we write A and B have to be true. And is multiplication, we don't really need that, so it's just A times B. And that's it. This is our formula. We expressed it as a sum of products of things being multiplied together. Now we're told to express the formula as a product of sums. So product of sums is you're looking for all of the cases for when our output is false. False means 0. So you're looking for when our output F is 0. That's this case right here. But note, if for the sum of products, we looked for when the output was true, and then in the second method, we're doing the opposite, then if in the first method we found F, then in the second method, we find the opposite of F, which is F prime. So it's going to be F prime is equal to, the only case when F is false is when A is false and B is false. So we have A being false and B being false. Again, and can be represented with multiplication, which we don't need because we can just write it like this, and that's it. But remember, we want F. We don't want F prime, so how do we go from F prime to F? We take the complement, which is just a fancy way of saying, hey, take the opposite of the entire thing. So if we take the opposite of F prime, well then the opposite of F is just gonna be F. They just cancel each other out. So we're taking the opposite of this entire thing, and that includes the sign. So we have multiplication in here. So we're taking the opposite of A prime, which is just A. The opposite of the multiplication becomes addition. The opposite of B prime is just B. And so we're left with the formula is equal to A plus B. Again, you might be like, wait, this isn't F, F is this. These are the same thing. That's the point. You can express the formula in different ways, as a sum of products or as a product of sums. And yet, when you plug in the same values for A and B, you'll get the same output. So if you plug in 0 for A and 0 for B into both of these formulas, you're going to get 0 for both of them as the output. Now, why I showed you this example is to get the following idea across. Ask yourself, which one was quicker to do? When you express your formula as a sum of products, you had 3 cases to take care of. When you express your formula as a product of sums, you only had 1 case to take care of. So recall that when you're writing the formula, the idea is when you see less ones, you want to express your formula using the sum of products method. So if all of these were zeros and this was just the only one, you have less ones. So you want to use this method because then you only have to write one thing. If you have less zeros, then you want to use the product of sum method. In this case, we have less zeros, which is why this method was faster because we only had to write one thing. It was just one case where F was false. So that's the idea. To be faster, if you have less ones, use the sum of product method. If you have less zeros, use the product of sum method. If you honestly don't care, this is not really important because either way you're going to get an answer, so you do you. I'll see you in the next video.